And we are back with roundtables. It's Dan Labbe, Mary Kay Cabot, Doug Lesmerises, Ellis Williams, Scott Patsko. And today we are doing declarative statements about the 2021 Browns, what could happen this season, player performances, whatever you guys have. Kept it pretty open-ended. We're not going to get too much into the Chiefs game just because we're going to do a lot of that stuff on Friday. But we kind of picked a draft order here. It's not really a draft, but we did pick an order, and Mary Kay gets to lead us off. Mary Kay, your first Browns declarative statement here.
I'm going to go with Baker Mayfield plays well enough in the first couple of quarters of the season, maybe not the full half of the season, but the first, 6-7 games of the season, that he earns his blockbuster contract extension by the trade deadline.
I like it. Doug, this is right in your wheelhouse.
Great to be back on the Orange and Brown Talk podcast. I'm, as long as we're talking financials, I'm good to go. But this I'll accept because it's from Mary Kay, first of all. And second, it's like a very specific thing that has multiple parts and has some specificity and is football related. So Mary Kay, you have actually got me hooked on money talk about the Browns, which is almost impossible to do. So congrats on that.
Yeah, I mean, when you're talking about Baker and his extension and his future, there's a lot of buzz about that. So we can get away with it when it comes to Baker, I would think. But I do think that he will come out, all guns blazing right from the jump. He's got Odell back. He's going to have another speedster that he can throw the ball to down the field, and Anthony Schwartz. He's got so many weapons. They know what to do with him now. And I think he's just going to establish himself week by week to the point where it's just going to make sense to wrap him up. And I think he's going to get up there in the $40 million range, just like the other guys.
Okay, Scott, you are up.
I have picked number 2, man. I have a few different ones. I have one that has to do with Baker, but I'm going to skip that one for now since we just talked about Baker. And I'm going to go to my second one here. And it's about Nick Chubb. I think that Nick Chubb matches Jim Brown, at least matches Jim Brown's record of 17 rushing touchdowns in a season. Ooh. That's the franchise record. Jim Brown actually did it twice. He did it in a 14-game season and a 12-game season. So Nick Chubb's accomplishment would be nice, but it would be 17 games. It wouldn't be as impressive, but still 17 rushing touchdowns. That's what Derrick Henry had last year. Derrick Henry also had 378 carries. I don't think Nick Chubb's going to get close to that, but I like Chubb having a legitimate chance for this because, number one, he had 12 touchdowns in 12 games last year in Stefanski's offense. He would have a full, healthy season, 17 games. And even though they have a lot of weapons, his ability to break off those long, explosive runs just makes him a threat from just about anywhere for a touchdown. So I think that's my declarative statement. I think Nick Chubb matches Jim Brown's record of 17 touchdowns.
Now, is that just rushing touchdowns?
Yes.
Okay. Doug, you're up.
Okay, so we want bold, right? We want bold because I'm trying to come up with the right number because, I want to be bold. I'm not the boldest guy sometimes, so I want to be bold, everybody. Here's my bold pick. I'm going to say Odell Beckham will average 80 receiving yards per game. Now, I'm putting it on per game because I don't want to attach a total and have him miss 3 games or whatever. And plus, it's a 17-game world, and we're all getting used to it. If he would do that, that would basically put him like in the top 10 in the NFL in receiving yards per game, if you go by last year. Tyreek Hill, the last 4 years, average per game 78.9, 92.4, 71.7, 85.1. So, that's kind of what we're talking about here. It's like a top 10 receiver in the NFL in yards per game. But I'm envisioning a world where there are a couple games where he goes bonkers and they hit him for a couple big plays, and where even his not great game is more like a 58-yard game, so that when he drops a 141-yard game, it all evens out. It feels like a lot. He was like at 45 last year. He was at 60 something the year before that with the Browns. But if I'm going to be bold, Will Fuller was 10th in the NFL last year with 79.9 yards per game. So if Odell's averaging 80 yards per game, he's going to be like 10th in the league in receiving yards per game. And I just think he's going to integrate in. They're going to do a better job. Baker's going to get him the ball more effectively when he's open. Stefanski won't be afraid to take those shots. And I think it happens.
Okay, Ellis, you're up.
All right. So I'm gonna bring us back to Baker here. I'm gonna compliment Mary Kay's point here. Well, to me, Baker Mayfield will have a top 10 season, throwing for 4,100 yards, 35 touchdowns, and only 10 interceptions. It's time. It's year 2 in Kevin Stefanski's offense. He's got a full training camp, best offensive line in football, 2 top 10 running backs, 2 14 million plus receivers, 2 top 10 tight ends, an opportunistic defense. And Mayfield really must unlock that Heisman Trophy winning version of himself, considering everything GM Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski have put in front of him. And if this does happen, when this happens, which is just a Kirk Cousins mold, if you go look at Kirk Cousins' numbers a year ago, very similar, 4,200 yards, 35 touchdowns, Baker will be right on his way to that contract that Mary Kay talked about, but it has to first actually happen. And he has been set up better than any point in his career, of course, and really since his college days, clearly, to maximize his ability in this offense and show the best version of himself, which is exactly what I laid out: between 41 and 42, 35 touchdowns, 9 or 10 interceptions over a 17-game season.
I'll give you guys mine. I've said this on the podcast before. I'm just going to put it out there as my declarative statement. Myles Garrett is going to win Defensive Player of the Year this year. There's no doubt in my mind. Myles Garrett's going to win Defensive Player of the Year. I'm not allowed to throw out any ifs or anything like that. I think the only reason he didn't win it last year is because he got COVID. He's going to do it this year. Strip sacks. He might set the Browns record for sacks, whatever. He's going to end up as the Defensive Player of the Year.